Hello guys and welcome to my new video, and today we'll be talking about restoration druids, and I have some good news. Resto druids are getting buffs. I know for a majority of restoration druids for the past week they have been questioning some of the changes that have been made to resto druids, because if you were checking some of the sites to do with class balance, you probably have noticed that there was a change made towards resto druids, and it was a weird one where people weren't sure whether it was a buff or a nerf. A fluorescence healing increased by 25%. That's definitely a buff, although to some extent it's a little bit weird. And effect of mastery harmony reduced by 6%. So this was Blizzard's initial thought process towards resto druid changes coming towards the mythic Battle of Dazar'alor. And it kind of made sense, because it just shows you that Blizzard was a little bit scared about making druids stronger in 5-man content, while they definitely needed some sort of a buff in raid content. So it kind of made sense to some extent, because resto druid mastery is scaling really well. Resto druids are probably right now the top mythic plus healers, not only based on their healing, which is very strong, but also because of their utility, because of great damage that they can provide. They can also provide battle res, they have stealth, they can do death skips and all that kind of deal. Really brings or shines resto druids in that mythic plus content. But in raids, it's a little bit of a different story. So I am gonna show logs from Warcraft logs towards the heroic raid performance, which is very... It's not a good indication. Heroic weeks are not a good indication of how healers are going to perform, because everyone's running with 30-man raid. Healing cooldowns are becoming stronger, but there is definitely a fact, or you could say that resto druid Tranquility Nerf came into play, because Tranquility was nerfed when 8.1 was there, and a lot of people were upset. Resto druids in BfA were considered to some extent as trank bot. Tranquility was so strong, was probably the best healing cooldown along the lines with Holy Priest, Holy Word Salvation. So Tranquility was really strong, it was nerfed, and druids were really scared about how they're going to perform in raid environment, and I guess their performance in the raid week, which is what Blizzard usually does. They see how the class performs during raid week. So even these logs here that you see right now, the performance, they kind of matter, because Blizzard seems to use these to some extent. So they will be adding an additional, or at least they scrapped the whole mastery nerf, and they said, hey, it's not worth nerfing resto druids at all. We're just gonna give them a fluorescence. So this is what you get when Battle of Dazar'alor is going to launch, or at least the mythic version is going to launch. This is what you're going to get. A fluorescence healing is increased by 15%, and life bloom and wild growth cost is reduced by 7%. So no nerfs at all, only buffs. Now these buffs by themselves, the fluorescence increase by 15% is nice in raid situations, is pretty decent in mythic plus as well, and the life bloom and wild growth cost reduction is really nice for raid situations, because mana is a big deal for resto druid. I would consider resto druids as type of healers, especially for new druids coming into BfA, or druids who played in Legion. They were so used to spamming rejuvenation and things like that, and they would run out of mana quite often. So any mana reduction in raid situations is extremely strong. So the whole buff here is looking, in terms of, I think, the overall 3% increase, which is actually quite substantial, and can bring, you know, resto druids a lot higher in that raid performance. In terms of spell priority or rotational changes for resto druid, nothing is going to change. You'll be using wild growth when there's enough raid damage happening. You'll make sure life bloom is up on the tank, and you always make sure to have as close to as 100% uptime on efflorescence no matter what. And keep in mind that with the buff to efflorescence, it is more important to make sure the uptime is higher. So try and get a week or some sort of indication that will help you to do so. And the cat has been here during the whole filming. Say hello to little Tibbers. He's a feral druid that's looking to reroll to a resto druid very soon because of these awesome changes. These changes in Mythic Plus, they're not that big. Mana reduction in spells is not that big for Mythic Plus, because you can drink every time. There are exceptions to this rule. High tyrannical keys, especially things like Temple of Satralis. If you're doing something really high, there is a chance that mana is going to be an issue, and reduction in life bloom, reduction in wild growth can be pretty decent, and especially the fact that Efflorescence is going to be increasing healing. And again, Efflorescence can be strong, it does require people stacking on it, but overall, pretty big buffs in raid, minor buffs in 5-man situations. Considering that they reverted the change with the mastery nerf, this is pretty big, and I'm considering, like, in my opinion, Resto Druids will continue to be one of the best Mythic plus healers in the game. They're going to climb in raid situations. I've already seen some of the Mythic bosses being killed, and there is definitely a lack of Resto Druids in a lot of the top guild compositions. They're not bringing a lot of Resto Druids. A lot of people are going with 4 healers, and Resto Druid is not included in those. So maybe this change is going to change their minds a little bit about whether Resto Druid is worthy for that world first kills. We'll have to see. Overall, guys, no nerfs happening to Resto Druids, only buffs. Resto Druids are only going to get better in raids and only going to get better in Mythic Plus and continue to stay the kings of that Mythic Plus 5-man group composition. Let me know how you feel about this change, and I'll see you in my next video.